Last time on Junkion Crafts and Builds.
Talk about an add-on kit that has been designed, printed, and sold by a friend of mine on his Etsy page, ToxicToyDepo. There's no real way to kind of display it flying, which is kind of the whole point of the Trouble Bubble, is stealth adapter. And this is going to be for a Mesco stand. And it just slides right in, clicks into place. And it's just that easy. We now have a place to put our figure's feet. As you can see, this is a piece of white FDM printed plastic. And then we've got this nice blast colorization effect. And then we have this, and there we have the blast effect in place. And I know he's improved over time with his printing process and painting. He's got a lot of variety going on, not only for the Trouble Bubble, but for the Haslab H.I.S.S tank, plus other stuff that he's got coming out over the next couple months. He is a really good 3D printer.
Now for part 2 of Junkion Crafts and Builds. Hey everyone, it's Mike from Junkion Crafts and Builds, and we are talking ToxicToyDepo add-ons again. Now, last time we left, we had this really awesome setup here for the classified series flight pod, aka the Trouble Bubble. And a lot of you guys really like this. There were some really good comments, and it's really awesome to hear. I love helping out people in the community, especially ToxicToyDepo. He's a really cool guy. I'm jealous of him though, because at the time of this recording, he is getting ready to go down to DFW, and I can't be happier for him. I hope he gets a lot of really cool stuff. But in the meantime, I said, hey, everyone likes what we're talking about here. What else you got? And I got this box full of goodies. So we're going to go through them here today. So as I said in the previous video, when we talked about all these add-on kits, I had gotten these as a bundle deal back during Black Friday. And in that time, he has done a lot of really cool upgrades and other new parts as he's getting more and more comfortable with 3D printing and also designing a lot of really cool stuff. So I asked him like, hey, all right, well, what's some of these new things you're talking about? Is there anything I can show? Some of it old, but new in regards to the materials. A lot of it is some really cool new designs that he's come up with. And it does support the Trouble Bubble. So we're going to go ahead and look through these all right now. So just a recap, if you didn't watch the video, which is going to be up here on the right, we have blast effects here for the turbines. We have a foot stand for the figure. And we have these really cool blast effects to let these rockets off. And the main thing is we solved the problem of getting the flight pod up in the air by creating this really cool stealth adapter for both NECA and Mesco stands, which is what we're going to be using here for our display stand today. So the first thing we're going to swap out are these blast effects. So just looking at the thruster pack here and these original blast effects, they fit in really well. They're really nicely tolerant, and they have a really nice deep slice here in it to allow you to easily get this blast effect on and off. Okay, but it's pretty opaque. Just the material of the FDM print here. It's it's cool enough as it is, but it needs a little touch up. Something to kind of bring a little more to life. So what we have here is the old, and now we have this new. So this is more of a translucent orange. Then he did a little bit of blending here with a reddish color to kind of help with the blast effect, looking a little more realistic or whatnot. Well, not realistic, but you get what I'm saying, a little more interesting looking. And what's cool with these effects is that the design itself is still pretty solid. But now, as you can see, when I put a light behind it, it's going to shine right through, which is really cool if you set up your display or photography and you really want to, highlight the heat that these blast effects are here to simulate. So let's go ahead and swap these out. And there's the new blast effects in place. And I think the blending of the paint is really good. Again, he says he's getting better every day in regards to the paint job and the deco on it. So I mean, again, if you're more accustomed to customizing, you might be able to add a little more, maybe another little bit of a wash to kind of bring out those little designs that he has in place here. But I think this looks really cool. And here we have the new blast effects installed, and I try to put a little light underneath here to help with the translucentness. But again, I like the first set, but this set's really cool in regards to just the fact that if you have your display with lights and such and you want to have a little more pizzazz for your display, this is a really cool option for you, and it can really be used well for photography. Like I said, directing some light to it, really cool. So the next thing we want to talk about, and this is something that I kind of mentioned during the video but not really, was we have these really cool foot stands now for Televiper to sit on. But as you can see, when I have him kind of sat back in here, they don't really kind of sit properly. You kind of have to finagle the knees a little bit more, and he has to really sit his knees in. So I was asking him if there's something that he was working on, maybe if there's anything new with that, or at least a different color or something. And he's like, yes, absolutely. I've been working on a new design, something a little closer to what the cartoon showed. I was like, all right, well, what do you mean by that? So then he sent these modified foot stands for the treble bubble. And it's really cool, the fact that, one, these now can rotate. He put a pin on here to get them in position a little bit better. And two, he's got these really cool straps to help guide the Televiper's boot into and hold him in place. So let's go ahead and put this on now. So getting some of this stuff off to make it easier to handle, like I said, this simply slides out from this little notch here in the yoke. And this was the old. Here's the new. Does it match completely? Not really, except if you want to use the accent color here, that kind of matches up. But if all else, you can always paint it and get it the way you want. And so what we do is just take that little notch and slide it back inside the yoke, just like that. So now let's get our trooper and his feet in place. So the easiest way I found to get this Televiper in position is to angle the foot peg down and then slide your Televiper's boot into the sleeve here, just kind of like a ski shoe, right? And then all you got to do is when he's in position and you got him buckled, you simply rotate the foot peg up, and that ankle, which is really good on these Televipers, will kind of slide in place. So you just kind of lean it down, slide it into the boot, rotate the foot peg, and you got him in position. And with those foot pegs in place, it actually helps the Televiper sit in there a little easier and straighter. And I think it looks really good. I don't mind the gray against this kind of off-whitish gray. I think it kind of matches. Not 100%, but it also helps break up a lot of that black that's along the bottom of the treble bubble. So those are actually pretty cool. And the fact that they are adjustable means like you can take different characters, maybe a female Valkyrie, and put her in this treble bubble. And the foot pegs will work for her just as well as it will be for this Televiper. All right, this is going to be a great way to display it. And he's like, well, what about weapons? I'm like, what do you mean weapons, dude? He's like, well, what if you want something a little different? Say you have multiple treble bubbles. He's like, well, what if you want a new weapon system up front here instead of the laser gun, or really pack the power punch with a new rocket system? I was like, sure. What do you got? So he has what's called the Treble Bubble GAU minigun system, and it's pretty neat looking. It comes with multiple pieces. So this is the main gun attachment. Again, we got the hole there to go into the bottom of the steering column, and this is really neat. A little unfinished in regards to like just the back and stuff, but again, this is 3D printed stuff. It's a cool design overall, and we can always customize this a little bit more. So we have two styles of barrels here. We have the traditional minigun here. It does not, it doesn't rotate on its own, but it is inserted in there and it tolerates really well. Really cool design in regards to how the barrels of the minigun are shown here. And, again, I said it was unfinished, but in 3D printed, you're not really going to see this back bottom part that well. But we also have an alternate barrel, and all you got to do is pull that out. And now we have this really neat tri-barrel design with this really huge open conical cone here at the beginning of the gun. So that's also a really cool looking design. And again, you can rotate it to match how you want it, whether you want the triangle up or down. So that's really neat. We also get an attachment here for the side of the trouble bubble, and this is a kind of like ammo container to hold the rounds that are going to go into the minigun up front. And the cool part about this is that it can utilize a piece of the Televiper's accessories that normally he's not going to be messing with here, and that's going to be his hose. Now you can see this little hole here, or this little nub at the bottom of the ammo barrel, and that fits the cable perfectly. And then on the back, you can see this little nub here that you can put the other end of the cable in. So let's go ahead and just try to get this this weapon set onto my standard trouble bubble. So I went ahead and put on the rocket and the rocket armature onto this here. The tolerance is a little tight getting it inside here, but once it's in, it's not going to be coming loose, which is good. All right, and then that will simply sit inside here on the trouble bubble like this, and that looks really cool. So now we're going to work on getting this gun replaced. So I need to heat this up a little bit, because for a fact, to those that had the trouble bubble, this is a pain in the butt to get in there, and you usually stress it. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the foot pegs, because this is 3D printed. I'm going to heat the gun up here and get it off, and then we're going to insert the new Gatling gun. This, I gently just started pushing gently into the ball peg here, and that slid in. And as you can see, we have a little more articulation than what we had with the standard laser rifle, because this sits a little lower on the yoke. But yeah, it looks really cool. And we're going to go ahead and put in the standard minigun barrels here. All right. So now let's just go ahead and let's get this all back together and check it out. And here is the trouble bubble with that new GAUthon minigun system installed, and this is starting to look really, really dangerous, man. I really like the profile that is here on the minigun. I think it really sets off a cool tone that, this is going to come down, flying low, strafing down, kind of has that, A10 Warthog type of, armament right up front. And then we have the ammo belt or ammo container here on the one side, and we're not losing or sacrificing a rocket, because he built in this dumbbell attachment here that allows you to utilize the existing rocket here. And like I said, we're utilizing the Televiper's hose to kind of give it a connection point, whether it's a command and control add-on, whatever you want to call it. It's really cool looking. Now let's get a little closer to this weapon. So getting a little closer to look at this weapon. Again, like I said, the design that he has for this in regards to the housing, it's a really cool design. Definitely would fit into the classified lines, style. Again, it kind of sits down low enough here, but you can get a lot of movement on this and placement however you wish, whether you want it lower or higher. It's really well toleranced to fit that existing ball peg. The hose, again, the only problem I have maybe right now is that when you have the foot stand going in conjunction with this, You kind of have to weave the cable through, and this little pin is not really. It could be a touch longer, so it can fit that hose a little bit better. But again, we're given this much length. The other option might be to adjust where the placement is of that peg up here in the ammo container towards the front. Again, here's a little closer view of that container there with the extra rocket. Looks really nice. And I bet we can put the existing blast effect that we got from ToxicToyDepo, and I bet that's going to fit perfectly here. Bam. We'll get this back in place. And now we're just going to combine all this together, and that looks wicked. I love it. I love having so many options for my displays. While this is really cool, there's one other weapon system that ToxicToyDepo provided me for the Trouble Bubble, and we're going to get right to that now. The final weapon set that ToxicToyDepo has provided me today to look at, and it is called the Snakebite Missile System. And that is entailing 3 items here, 2 new weapon pods, and he also provides an additional 4 rockets or missiles. And what's different with his than the ones that come stock with the Trouble Bubble is that he has incorporated a blast effect into the back of these weapon systems. So we're going to put these weapon systems on and really arm up our Trouble Bubble. And here we have the Snakebite Missile System attached to the Trouble Bubble. Again, they're both key to fit on their appropriate sides. So the 4 missile pod is always going to go on this side, and then the 2 missile pod attachment will go on to the other side here. And again, he has designed it so that way his blast effects can easily be attached to either pod to show off a lot of this firepower getting launched. And it's really cool the fact that we're getting basically triple the amount of rockets available for the Televiper or whomever's flying the flight pod to rain holy heck down upon the Joes. And again, other than that, we got some new attachments here. I really love the translucentness of these new blast effects for the turbines. I like the options that we have here to really deck this Trouble Bubble out. The foot stands for the Televiper. I like this new comic version for the fact that it is adjustable and it makes it a little easier to get the pilot of the flight pod in position. All that stuff is going to be on his Etsy page. I know he also makes these in colors like straight black for the Python Patrol version as well. But we're not done yet because he does more stuff than just playing around with the Trouble Bubble. So let's go ahead and look at something that works with our Haslab. So, like I said, for the Haslab tank, ToxicToyDepo has created some blast effects that really help enhance this awesome toy. Some chin guns blast effects, some main cannon blast effects, and some minigun blast effects. So let's go ahead and put each of these on and I'll show you how they look. So we'll go ahead and start with the chin guns to the H.I.S.S tank. And again, we have these pair of translucent orange blast effects, and all they do is slide right over the barrels real easy. Again, the tolerance that ToxicToyDepo puts in on these things are really nice. It's really nice and firm once you get it in place. And there you go. Now we have chin gun blast effects going off as they're firing at the Joes. We have the H.I.S.S tank main battle cannons here, and we have a pair of blast effects that will go over the barrels, just like we had with the chin guns. Again, we have this really nice mushroom translucent orange piece here that goes closest to the barrel. We have this nice wide space that it will slide right over without scratching any paint. And then we have this shorter piece where it shows the projectile going forward, if it's a projectile or if it's your laser, whatever works, right? So we're just going to go ahead and slide them right over the cannons. And these are, again, really nice and wide, so they're able to slide over, and you're going to feel a little bit of friction, but it's not anything where you're worried about scratching your paint. Finally, for our gunner, we have some blast effects for these mini machine gun, Gatling gun mock-ups we have here. And again, we get a pair of blast effects, the same translucent orange that we've seen before. And again, he's kind of painted this orangish color. And there we go, guys. Now we have a really cool blast effect going off for these machine guns, and we're really bringing this HISS tank's weapon systems to life. So let's go ahead and zoom out and catch all this in one big shot. And here we have all the blast effects going off on the HISS tank. And like I said, this really brings the weapon systems to life, and it looks really, really awesome. I'm going to love having my HISS tank on display, showing all this massive firepower that we have on display. But again, we're not done, because with the Haslab HISS tank, we also have the fire team coming out. So let's go ahead and check them out and what add-on ToxicToyDepo has created for this team. So in addition to the Haslab tank, Hasbro has been doing a really cool thing in regards to tying together an entire themed team around this Haslab. And that's what we have here with the HISS fire team. Now, I will say I don't like the weapons that Hasbro comes with, but once again, this is another small shout out to the toy community and those that want to create new items for collectors to purchase. And what we have here are a series of weapons that my fire team is holding from Arsenal of Pew Pews. He has a really cool Etsy store, and his weapons are really awesome. Now here I have him all decked out with his accessories that came in package. What I can say real quick is I do not like using the scrap iron add-on for the blast effect. To me, this seems absolutely huge. It's out of scale. It makes the figure absolutely front heavy, where you have to use foot stands to make sure that he can at least stand upright. It just looks out of scale for the size of the rocket being propelled out of the Bazooka. This just looks completely nonsensical. And here is the infantryman holding or utilizing another blast effect from ToxicToyDepo, and it's the same white filament that we've see with the Trouble Bubble blast effect, obviously at a much smaller scale and in line with the size of this rocket getting launched out. And again, he's got this two-color transition from the white to the orange to this red to really create this really nice blast effect. It is a tight tolerance to get inside the Bazooka, but once it's in there, it's not moving at all. All right, and the little tolerance here at the other end for the rocket pin to go into fits like a glove. Now I have one more thing in relation to the Haslab HISS tank grouping, and what we're going to do is look at the HMS and another really cool add-on from ToxicToyDepo. Finally, we have the newest addition to the Cobra Haslab HISS tank team, and that is the Cobra HMS. The way that the HMS rockets and missiles have been designed, they are blast effect compatible here in the back. And the answer is once again using these same blast effects that we got with scrap iron with the fire team, and we are also going to get a version of these with the Cobra Knight four-wheel drive Stinger vehicle. Not a fan of these blast effects because again, once you put them in, it just doesn't look right. And you don't have any way to show these heat-seeking missiles launching off. Until now. Again, ToxicToyDepo has come through and designed a really interesting looking blast effect that comes in 3 pieces. And those 3 pieces include a main blast effect with an adapter built in, and this does separate to allow you to show the missile actually launching off the pod here. And we also have a secondary blast effect in that translucent orange that will also fit into the back of the missiles in preparation for the next one to launch off. And so we have one blast effect that comes in for this rock missile getting ready to launch off, and again it slides very easily into the port hole on the back of the missile. But we want this one to be launching off. Box here, just got to get it lined up, gently push it into place, and now let's just slide this back. We're going to take our HeetSeek missile, slide the other piece into the blast effect. So it's hard to get it all in frame just because of the size of everything, but here is the HMS with Technoviper launching off his missile barrage with the blast effect from ToxicToyDepo for this HMS set. Again, this adapter piece fits very easily into the pod here, and this just looks really freaking awesome. I love having this out here. I think this is like one of his coolest effect pieces, just because this is exactly how we want to envision or display this HMS, is actually in action. So let's go ahead and close out our discussion on the add-on kits from ToxicToyDepo. So final impressions of the ToxicToyDepo add-on kits and blast effects for a variety of classified series vehicles and figures. I really enjoyed having this stuff in my collection. It really brings the vehicle to life, specifically with the HMS. I love the blast effect and the ability to show the missile going off, as well as all the variety of translucent effects pieces that he's created for the Cobra HISS tank, as well as the upgrades and the forward thinking for design with the classified series flight pod or trouble bubble. I can definitely see the evolution in regards to the design from ToxicToyDepo, the use of new plastics in regards to his 3D prints, and the continued adaptation to provide blast effects that really kind of help, again, enhance the vehicle and figure. I really love how the toy community is so creative and gives us these really cool things as collectors that we normally aren't going to get from the main companies like Hasbro and whatnot, unless we want to pay a lot more for our figures, which the prices have been continuously going up and up and up. So reach out to ToxicToyDepo on his Etsy page. There's a way to contact him and ask him about his upcoming products. Ask him when the products that I might have shown here that aren't currently in his Etsy store, when they're going to come back in stock. He is really quick to respond to everyone and provide a really good estimate on when things are going to be available. That's everything I got for you today. Thank you guys as always for watching. I am truly blessed and humbled by every single one of you who watches the videos, makes a comment on a video, gives it a like, shares it out, and subscribes. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope to have earned your subscription today. I really do appreciate it. It takes a second of your time. It helps out the channel a lot. So until next time, everyone, thank you so much. Enjoy your collection. Enjoy what you like. Forget the drama and have fun. We'll talk again soon. Bye.